I'm Fatheree.
This is Dave.
And this is Tex-Trek.
Engage.
Okay, the big moment is finally here. Dave and I are about to take our first look at the Star Trek Discovery trailer. It was released today, day of recording, at the Network Upfronts event. Dave, are you excited to see this?
I am excited and extremely trepidatious and terrified.
Yeah, I'm hoping for good things. Just a little bit of the anticipation building up to this is, you know, the Discovery news has kind of slowed down for a bit. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind the show's not coming out till September. People seem to be expecting a lot of news now. I'm thinking September, sometime in fall. But I mean, how many new shows coming out in fall are like, you know, we're getting trailers for now and stuff. So be patient, be thankful for what we're getting.
Yeah. You know, there was a photo released earlier today. It's a singles still, I guess, that people were immediately making a lot of Star Wars references because it looked like they looked like they're Rey in Force Awakens.
Yes, but the Star Trek ladies wore it better because they had a communicator, they had a tricorder. It's all about the Trek accessories. So,
all right,
you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
You know what you got to tell me before I hit play.
All right, is the sound ready?
Yeah.
First of all, that wasn't it. Engage. Very Star Warsy.
Yeah. 10 years before Kirk, Spock, and the Enterprise.
Captain, where are we going? We have no map, and you can't set a course without a star.
It's hard to imagine. You've served under me for 7 years. Commander Burnham, I think it is time we talked about you having your own command.
Oh, that didn't take long.
To transport.
Oh, I love the redesign of the ship.
Well,
I think it's an
cool.
improvement, yeah.
Do they have to go down to the pick to beam them up? Do they have to get down and...
The fires are few and far between, but they do come. Often such leaders will need a profound cause
Probably
for their
Sarek.
followers to rally around.
What am I
Slightly
looking
enterprisey
at?
looking.
Object of unknown origin.
It must be Saru.
It would be irresponsible to leave whatever that is unknown.
Environmental
What
suit.
have you done out there on the edge of Federation space?
Computer, enable igniter.
Oh, the
This is our
sarcophagus
crazy
ship.
Klingon ship.
Yeah.
Yep.
Contact Starfleet Command. We have engaged the Klingons.
You will never learn, Vulcan. Your tongue is too human.
Is that our moment of
I'm trying
sexy?
to save you. I'm trying to save all of you. You target its neck, cut off its head.
Starfleet doesn't fire first.
We have to.
My people were biologically determined for one purpose alone, to sense the coming of death. I sense it coming now.
That's a pretty cool looking alien.
You know, the classic 4 notes. Interesting.
Very briefly, we saw the Klingons. Were those the ones that the alternate, or was that still something else?
I think those were the Klingons that we saw in that picture.
That they were a little bit like, these aren't Klingons,
Yeah.
but then they're like, yeah, they are. That trailer looked like, I just want to quick say, it looked like Star Trek to me. It looked pretty good.
It looked like Star Trek. It was. I believe someone said recently, someone at CBS said that the show will look familiar and new, and that's actually a pretty accurate description.
They were definitely running with some the big special effects, creating like sort of locations that were, you know, definitely above and beyond anything we've seen before. Was interesting. It looks like they immediately got into a little bit of conflict between captain and first officer, as well as possible promotional stuff. Let's see. I like seeing Vulcans in there. It actually looked in some ways more traditional than I expected it to. Like, I thought it might be more Abrams people running around kind of style.
Yeah, the designs, some of the designs, they looked kind of different for Star Trek. They seem to be reminding me of something else, just kind of the production design with the ship interiors, the uniforms, the shots in space.
The largely navy blue uniforms looked closest to some Enterprise.
Yeah, or maybe a little Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
Reimagined Galactica. But some things were kind of what I expected. Some things were not at all what I expected.
They did not have a... I did not get a strong sense of the plot of it. You know, we know that it is... I think it's still... We know that it's going to be a singular... The seasons will be singular storylines, right? Probably each individual episode will be meant to stand on its own, but there will be a big overarching plot. We got snippets of, you know, discovering things, crew, possible, like, you know, the new, or the first officer maybe coming into her own, clashing with the captain, meeting the Klingons, but it was definitely more of, I guess, a tone trailer, where they're not going to, like, and they do this with movies all the time. The first trailer is just meant to make you feel something about it. Yeah, it's a teaser. Although 2.5 minutes is fairly long teaser.
Yeah, and I'm just based on what we know about the shooting schedule and stuff that they've already shot. I'm thinking that most of this, if not all of this, is from the 2-episode. The 2 episodes they've shot that we know are in the can that will be the premiere that will air on normal CBS before it goes into CBS All Access streaming. Right.
Their lure to people. I guess what I was going to say is that in spite of a few little tweaks like the Klingon look and things like that, it still felt fairly classic Trek. You know, you saw Commander and First Officer having a heart-to-heart, it looks like, arguing over what they're going to do, like to resolve some situation. What's the name of our First Officer lead character?
Michael Burnham.
No, the lady.
Yeah, her name is Michael.
Oh, is it? Okay. So what is she? Is she Commander?
Lieutenant Commander.
Lieutenant Commander.
Well, originally she was going to be called Lieutenant Commander Rainsford. She might have the rank Commander. Okay. In the trailer, the captain calls her Commander, but that's also the correct word to use if you're addressing someone who's a Lieutenant Commander. So.
Right. Well, she seemed a little bit gung-ho for action, and the captain's like, we don't fire first, assuming, who knows what that exact full scene will be, but it's interesting that early on the captain was saying, Michelle Yeoh's captain, was saying she was like talking to her about having her own command, and yet she seems a little bit maybe overzealous for, you know, what you would normally think of as kind of a more peaceful negotiator, explorer, Star Trek captain. And I wonder if that's going to be a major theme. You know, I actually thought that she might be like, the story might be more where she's the sort of more thoughtful one, and the captain is a loose cannon or something like that.
Well, I was surprised to see Michelle Yeoh as the captain. One of it was the Shinzu.
Right.
I'll have to freeze frame it because we kind of have an idea of what each ship looks like. But yeah, I was under the impression that Captain Lorca, played by evil British dude,
right, was Jason Isaacs.
Jason Isaacs was going to be the captain.
Right, she's actually, I forgot about that. Right, Michelle Yeoh is captain of the Shenzhou.
Right,
there's what we think is like a sister ship, and but she was talking as if she was captain to the lieutenant commander. Right. Yeah. So there's still a lot that we don't know. Not if it is a sister ship, she could still be a captain giving advice, though. Right. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's the case. That, you know, they changed stuff on us and now she's captain of the Discovery. But that's interesting. And we didn't see we saw neither hide nor hair of Jason Isaac. The
first thing that I really noticed, though, was the production design. Mm-hmm. Because that is what I was really kind of curious about. I've heard producers and writers and actors kind of talk about what the kind of what the tone of the show will be, and so I didn't know any story details, but I kind of had an idea what the atmosphere might be like. But I wanted to know the visuals, and this is the first real glimpse into that.
Visuals are pretty slick.
And it's
obviously got a budget.
It looks like an expensive show. It looks good. I would have preferred for things to look a little bit more Star Trek-y in the sense of maybe more colorful costumes.
Right.
Instead of everyone being in the blue, which I know they did in Enterprise, but...
Right. I suppose in the sort of realistic sense of being like some sort of a transitional thing, costume or like look to after Enterprise but before Kirk, it somewhat makes sense that that would be lingering effect. Here's just a thought that I had. I wonder if there's any chance that they will, after some particular incident or just as part of a new Starfleet initiative, but maybe triggered by the Discovery, change over to an early version of the Kirk uniforms, the original series uniforms.
But no, the uniforms, the designs of the ships, we saw like the corridors. They kind of looked like the TOS movie era. The way that the Enterprise looked after the refit.
Right.
And that's kind of what I was expecting. I kind of thought they might go that kind of way.
I actually couldn't tell. So, like, the J.J. Abrams movies were defined by kind of a brightness that, the Apple Store look, the kind of the vivid whites and clean, translucent, like, haptic keyboards and stuff that they had on the bridge, and lens flares and all that stuff, which I did notice this was kind of high on the lens flare thing, which I don't know if I would have done that if I were them, because people kick the shit out of J.J.
I don't think that means you can never have a...
Right.
Light hit a camera lens and create a...
I'm just saying the optics on it are going to be bad.
But I thought it was weird when they had some... It looked like footage of a view screen that might be the actual window on the bridge,
right,
like they did in the Kelvin movies, which I actually dislike. Although it would kind of be in continuity if the Kelvin had a bridge like that, which was... supposedly from the Prime timeline, and was at the point when it diverged and everything being different. So I guess Starfleet always had a few ships that were like that.
Yeah,
and the uniforms also kind of reflect the Kelvin uniforms.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to think. In the Kelvin universe, that's the first ship we see is the Kelvin.
When I say Kelvin uniforms, I mean the uniforms on the USS Kelvin.
Right, and I forgot, they looked, if I'm not mistaken, I remember they looked pretty good, but they were monochrome, single color.
Yeah, I liked them.
And I'm sure that was so that Kirk and his guys could when they get into gear, they get to be the first ones in those uniforms in the gold and blue and red. I would like to see that in this. What else? What are the thoughts?
Let's talk about aliens. We see Sarek,
right? Sarek,
Vulcan.
by the way, if it's only 10 years before Star Trek, and which I don't know if he has like some gray in his hair in that one, but is feeling a little bit of he feels like a bit of an elder statesman, even in his probably, I don't know, the actor's 40s maybe.
Yeah. Sarek was supposed to be over 100 when Kirk meets him. 10 years after this.
Right. But to a human, he might have looked like, in human years, he looked like he was maybe 30s or 40s or probably 40s.
40s.
And this guy looked a little young, I suppose. That's a minor issue. I'm not like going to be like, it's not like they were like making him sexy Sarek.
I like him more than the forgettable Sarek of Star Trek 09.
Yeah, I agree. That was when you've got Mark Leonard to live up to, you got a lot to live up to.
It was interesting that he was talking in the form of a hologram, a very Star Wars looking type hologram, because we didn't really see holographic technology used in the original series.
Right, it just wasn't a thing. The same weird way, that's like Star Wars in general doesn't do a lot of cloaking devices. It's just it's not part of their particular brand of sci-fi tropes. I know
no ship that small has a cloaking device.
They don't use a lot of them. They don't use a lot of them.
Also, just throwing this out after.
Is this your crazy theory?
Careful analysis. It looks like that might actually be a young Commander Burnham that Sarek is talking, or we think it's Sarek, is telling that
the kid with the Vulcan haircut.
Yeah, because it kind of looks like a human ear. Kind of looks like a female, possibly. It's hard to tell on the kid with the haircut.
Skin looked darker.
Yeah.
And they immediately cut to her, where they like showed the kid reacting, and then they cut to her in the present day. And I'm like, my interpretation watching it was like that was just some young Vulcan boy, maybe somehow a flashback to Spock, although I couldn't figure how. If somehow it was her, we're thinking maybe like she traveled to Vulcan as a kid, almost like an exchange thing, or her parents were exposing her to different cultures or something like that.
Or maybe she's like Worf and her parents died and she was raised by some aliens.
It's possible. You had the notion that like it'd be interesting if she had been like, if Sarek had been like one of her teachers as a kid, kind of like a douchebag teacher, or at least to a human mindset, a Vulcan kind of piousness would have come across that way, and now they find themselves working together as adults or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that would be really interesting. I hope that's. I'm going to be a little sad if it's not the case. I think you're right that might be her.
It's a safe bet. Yeah. The
way that was edited. The way it was edited, I think they deliberately kept the camera from quite seeing the back of the ear, so that you wouldn't put it together too easily.
Yeah.
But
they want us to be talking about it, which is what we're doing.
Right. But I think that might have been what was going on. I thought my other crazy theory, Sarek's love child. I'm just gonna throw that. No.
Well, he likes the human ladies. Because when Amanda died, he went and got another human that we see him married to in the Next Generation.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I was just joking, but maybe, no, I don't think we're gonna get philandering Sarek. I hope
Cybok. Hey, we have Spock has this other half brother brother from another mother.
Yeah, it's true.
So Sarek gets around.
It's true, and we saw like in the Enterprise days those sort of hippie Vulcans that were. They were crazy, like hedonists and stuff.
We
don't
know what Sarek
Maybe
was
Sarek
doing
was
as a
going
young man.
through those. That was his like university days when he was hitting the bong and sleeping with every human being he could.
Yeah.
Wow, that went to a weird place. But I think the most important thing to take away from this is what full name of her character again? Number one.
Michael Burnham.
Burnham.
Yeah, Burnham.
Lieutenant, that we believe that this is, we're going to go down as, this is your theory, I'm going to back you up on it, and we want to get credit and not blame if it's wrong, but we want to get credit if it does turn out that that's Lieutenant Commander Burnham as a young kid on Vulcan.
Yeah, absolutely. You heard it here first.
The ridiculous theories of Tex-Trek. Or actually probably quite right. Who was the alien who got the dialogue? Who was the one who says, "My people sense death"?
I think that was Saru, who is the science officer, played by the tall, skinny, freaky-looking guy, Doug Jones.
Right. He looked cool. I liked his presence, and I feel like for people who've played Mass Effect, he's going to be the Morden of the ship.
Yeah, he also the thing of like we can feel when death is near. Mm-hmm. Kind of reminded me of Babylon 5, how the Centauri can they have like a vision of their death.
Right.
Seems like a really weird way to explain that with any type
evolution.
Yeah, or just
to go with the sort of super sciencey things. Maybe his people's natural energy are attuned to tachyon particles that travel back in time.
Temporal brain. He has a temporal brain.
Yeah, you could explain it. I would like to think that being Star Trek, that they would give you at least a little bit of pseudoscience, if nothing else, like that.
It was a cool design, but it was a little complex for me. I tend to like some of the more simpler alien designs. Like Vulcans with their ears, or. It's one thing that kind of bothers me that in the JJ movies, or the Kelvin movies, is that they create these super elaborate aliens that we see like as part of the crew or hanging out at a bar or something that Scotty's at, and we only see them like one time.
Yeah.
And even though like they're so elaborate, they just don't have any presence, and they're kind of forgettable.
Right.
And they kind of just, after a while, they all look the same.
I mean, ultimately, but like the danger in like Star Trek in the Next Generation era was what it was an endless parade of like dudes with a few variants of ridges on their forehead or cheeks or something like that, and I didn't want that. That was the one thing that I really wanted them to not do, is just some minor stuff like that, and they did not with him. And I think he's going to have some presence, I feel like. Probably not strictly speaking Vulcan-like, but maybe a little.
No, he'll probably be like the breakout character. If you look at Star Trek, the guy who's not quite human.
The Data, the Spock.
The Odo, 7 of 9, the Doctor on Voyager.
Right.
Those are always like the big hit fan favorite characters.
It's true.
I can see Saru being that for Discovery.
I do think it is kind of true that Star Trek, you can run the risk of being a little too Star Wars-like if you have aliens that don't sort of fit what we traditionally have seen in Star Trek. Mm-hmm. But I've still kind of always wanted to. I think because one of the early novels had it, I wanted to see a Horta crew member. I know they haven't discovered Hortas yet in this
not gonna
timeline.
Happen.
It could. That stupid Seth MacFarlane show, The Orville, that's coming up, has him running through a hallway and he walks over some blobby thing. So I'm saying, like, if a Star Trek spoof can do a blob alien on a ship, then Star Trek can do a blob alien on a ship.
The Horta actually doesn't look that cool, though.
What? Hortas are awesome.
It's like a guy crawling around on the floor with, like, this carpet on top of him.
Don't be a hater on the Star Trek original series. Like Doctor Who.
I love Devil in the Dark, but I don't think it's that cool of a design.
It looks like molten. There's these molten blisters emerging from like this rocky mound. It looks super cool.
Dave, you have a Horta fetish.
I like the Horta. I'm sexually attracted to the Horta.
And you could never fuck it because it would burn your dick off.
Well, in my fanfic about it, I'm a Horta too.
That's enough. Back to Star Trek Discovery. The other aliens that we have to talk about.
Right. There was just quick glimpses. I don't quite remember. There was one other dude I saw. Notably.
There's another bridge officer, but the big one that we did see a couple shots of are the Klingons.
Right. They had rather dusky gray skin as opposed to generally like what we think of as more as African colored black, brown skin of the Klingons, basically from. Actually, I guess the original series when they kind of blackfaced them.
Season 3.
But also the pretty much since I guess Star Trek: The Motion Picture, the tradition of the darker skinned Klingons.
Yeah, I'm
sometimes white dudes, sometimes not.
I think the ridged foreheads are like the ridges aren't as good as they used to be in the classic traditional Klingon.
There was something about the ridges were a perfect mimic of their sort of aggressiveness. They looked like spikes, like something a dinosaur would have.
They do look better here than in that leaked image that came out a few months ago. They do look a lot better.
Their ridges are still somewhat within the basic visual framework of the movie and Next Generation era Klingons. Mm-hmm. They looked a little more flattened, maybe they didn't kind of like mountaintop up so much. But it had also more distinctly a flat nose, I noticed. So it looked like they tried to change up their features a little bit so they didn't look so overtly human. But,
they tried to make them look more alien.
Yeah. Now, there is some question, the same question we had when we talked about this kind of in depth an episode or two back, as to whether these are meant to be rank-and-file Klingons, or because they have their weird tomb ship or whatever that was, which I thought looked pretty cool. Whether they are some kind of offshoot, specially genetically modified Klingons.
Yeah, and if the show doesn't explain that, if there's like, here's some Klingons, this is what they are, there will be a book or a comic or something that says, well, these Klingons descended from the clan of Chahak-Jajar, and they all have
which was
the same
ascendant
feature.
during this era.
Yeah, it'll be explained one way or another. A lot of the designs, I look at it, and my first thought is, it looks good. It looks like some money and effort went into it. I might have done a little different, but it's not bad.
Right.
Nothing in there looked bad.
See, I think like not bad is maybe not giving them credit enough. I think they look good.
Yeah, everything in there looked good. Yeah. I mean, you can see the money and the production value they're putting into the show.
Right. Lots of fancy locations. People are walking around on the surface that you guessed could be Vulcan.
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh and I'm going to be terrible with the names until I start seeing these characters in action. But the two of the leads were walking on that planet. Looked like it could be Vulcan. Big sandstorm in the back. There was another planet where I think you saw the ring, like a ring around it, as viewed from kind of running. Was it perpendicular to the horizon line? Looked really cool. Just a few glimpses of ships that looked cool, including either the Enterprise or the Shenzhou.
The Discovery, you mean? Not the
The Discovery.
The Enterprise is off with Pike and Number One and
Right.
Spock, and they're doing their own thing.
I wonder if we're gonna get a guest shot from them.
So we've talked about aliens.
By the way, we also saw the Tomb Ship or whatever of those Klingons,
the Tomb Ship,
which we had talked about in a previous episode. We had the hot intel. You heard it here first on Tex-Trek. Or possibly from some other source, but
the leaked concept art of the sarcophagus ship. What we did see in the trailer looked pretty good. I like it more than any of the designs that. A lot of the stuff looked better than the few little peeks that we got before. I wasn't crazy about the Klingon armor that we saw in the production trailer a few months ago. Wasn't crazy about the Klingon designs. Wasn't crazy about the sarcophagus ship. But yeah, a lot of the stuff when I see it in motion under the proper lighting, it's looking good, and I'm so happy to see ships. That's just here's some Starfleet ships.
Yep.
That's so cool. Haven't seen a new ship, not counting Kelvin movies in a long time.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Some throwbacks to the era. A flip communicator.
Yeah, we have a classic communicator, classic looking tricorder.
Interesting. I don't think I saw anybody on this drawn down with a phaser on anybody.
Let's talk about the we didn't see any phasers. Let's talk about like the extra vehicular activity we saw with.
What all did we see? Oh, there was you're talking about the spacesuit thing.
Yeah, we see our Number One in an environmental suit. It kind of reminded me of Spock in the motion picture when he had the thrusters and was maneuvering through space. The way that it was shot kind of reminds me more of something like Firefly or one of these newer sci-fi shows that tries to get like
about like the shaky cam stuff where they'll do that like the difficulty you would actually have filming somebody. Battlestar Galactica did it too. And like if somehow there was a cameraman outside the ship,
that kind of has that documentary style type feel to it.
And Star Trek has always, and in fact everything basically up until I'm going to say that the changing point might have been Saving Private Ryan. They had I know the guy who was like their if not what do you call it, cinematographer, director of photography, I think did a lot of handheld work during the opening D-Day sequence. And I think that very much influenced a lot of filmmakers, so that they also started, realizing, if you show these smooth, the ships flying by, they can feel unreal, especially with CGI that's a little more limited. But if you kind of throw in some camera work as if they're, it's hard for the camera to track a ship as it goes by super fast, it can add this weird feeling of reality. I'm sure, found footage movies also contribute at least some level to that.
And that stuff kind of rubs me the wrong way when it's done in a lot of, so overtly. I tend to like more, classic, traditional cinematography. But the way that Discovery was using it for some of the space stuff, I don't want them to get like too crazy where every space battle is like the camera's trying to track the ship and it goes too far and that type of stuff.
Or the ship goes out of focus and then back into focus. We can't keep up with it.
I'd like it to look more like
I actually didn't, by the way, notice that when we were watching it. We'll have to rewatch it again in a minute so I can see that.
It's not that overt in here. If this is like little touches here and there, if a character is flying around in an environmental suit or something like that, then I think that might be a cool way to go. I'll try it. I'll check it out. In
the Kelvin movies, they did their space battles became much more Star Wars like. All the ships moving around very fast. Something they had started, I guess, messing with as far back as Next Generation. Definitely by DS9
Next
battles.
Generation really didn't have fast-moving space battles, though.
No, that's true. That's true. I guess I would just mean that when they would show sometimes their big battles with the Borg and stuff like that, you would start to see more ships moving around more quickly than they traditionally had, where there was almost this sense of sort of lumbering, naval vessels. And it's kind of essentially only gotten more so over time.
Yeah.
But I do remember big glimpses of some of the big battles in DS9, even though I haven't seen all those episodes, that had pretty fast-moving stuff. The Defiant was filmed to look pretty fast-moving, and then for sure the Kelvin movies had that. I wonder what balance we're going to get in this. Are they going to be moving fast and firing in bursts and maneuvering around wildly around their enemies, or is it still going to be sort of slow-moving ships in space? More Wrath of Khan battle.
Yeah,
that's my favorite. I wish they could do that, but I don't know if audiences are. I don't know if they can deal with.
I don't think a normal battle should look like the Wrath of Khan. That was like a unique battle under unique circumstances. That was like a big important. Just the utilization of the Mutari Nebula, like the
Although
whole
I'm thinking of also
mouse.
that first battle between where Khan gets the drop on him. That's also kind of a unique battle because they didn't have time to size each other up.
Just I don't want to see that emulated too much because it's you're not going to do it as good as they did it the first time. So, although Deep Space Nine did a pretty cool submarine battle episode inside of a gas giant, that was that's pretty
cool.
neat. But yeah, I'm curious to see what the space combat is. I'm hoping that it's actually not used that often. One of the cool things about stuff like the Next Generation was that you always had. What really comes to mind is like dealing with the Romulans. You would always have like this high tension with these two powerful ships, and it was not so much when they're actually in combat, but like the anticipation or
Usually there was tension. I felt like there was very often this like skirmish of like warning shots, and it still reflected what I would think of as Cold War sensibilities. When in the real world, when a plane buzzes a no-fly zone or skirts the borders of a place to take pictures, and they fire off some warning shots or a few rockets over their bow or something just to let them know they mean business. That tended to happen, and then you'd have the weight of possible combat or war hanging over the whole episode.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that
I wonder if it's telling that we didn't see a ton of space battles. There was definitely lots of action going on.
Yeah, there's going to be space battles, but I don't want it to be like in every episode. It should be something that's rare and important.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
No, even when Deep Space Nine had a war going on the last 2 seasons of the show, they didn't have combat every episode. There was like, well, here is an actual battle. Like, it's a big deal, and this is what happens in that battle. But yeah, the special effects on everything else look so good, and it's still so early. We're not going to see the show until fall, according to what CBS has been saying a lot lately. I'm pretty sure they're going to stick to the release date now. They're confident enough. They're showing footage. They're they're strutting around saying this is the show we got. Check it out. They're probably going to stick to their release date finally. But everything looks so good. I'm sure that the battles will probably look. It'll probably be some of the best battles we'll ever see. I think they're going to be really good now.
Thematically, it is a teaser, but if I were to pull the themes out of it that I thought that they were looking into, you got that kind of casual friendship between at least a captain and a first officer, whether or not Michelle Yeoh was her specific captain, and a little bit of that sort of I guess almost military talk about advancement and career and stuff like that. There was definitely a sense of exploration and discovery going on. There was generally a sort of, I would say, sort of a rising action hopefulness throughout it. She's like, we're not going to fire first on the Klingons and stuff like that. So there was a sort of a pacifistic, the classic Star Trek, kind of pacifism kind of in there. And then it ended on definitely a darker note with the guy saying, death is coming. Yeah, which is, I think, just their way of just dramatic tension. It's
the monster or whatever that they're encountering. It looked kind of like a Grim Reaper type, the big armored. Yeah, with he had like a sickle like the
Right.
Grim Reaper or a
I
scythe.
guess I didn't notice that. Was that a monster? I thought that was like a Klingon dude in some kind of ceremonial armor or
I think
something.
it might be something that they
One of their sarcophagus ship people or something.
like, you know, like it looked like it could. It looked to me. I was like, oh, that's like the Klingon Grim Reaper, I guess.
Yeah. Star Trek, it would be weird territory for them to ever actually sort of... Well, it wouldn't. They show lots of space gods. The Enterprise kills a lot of space gods or humbles them. It would be interesting to see somebody who claimed or in some way was an incarnation of a Klingon deity or an avatar of them. I suspect it's probably more avatar in the sense of, he's wearing some sort of ceremonial armor, maybe makes him look bigger or more monstrous than he is, but he's still ultimately a Klingon under it all.
That could be cool. We'll have like a kind of like in Star Trek First Contact when they were fighting the Borg on the deflector dish. Mm-hmm. Have an in space hand-to-hand
little
combat battle.
Yeah. I could see structures behind her, which could have been like either it was the surface of a ship and they were just walking around. I think that's what it would almost have to be. It was her, right? Number one.
Or if they're in a ship that has been like blown apart, or like there's no environment controls in there.
Right. It definitely seemed to look like it had some of the engravy type stuff of their sarcophagus ship or whatever. So probably there, but that would be really cool. And if she can stand up to some kind of Klingon dude fighting with a Butleth, she better have some badass combat skills herself.
Yeah. Anything else you want to get out there?
Their sex appeal. I have to talk about sex appeal in Star Trek. Let's see. Barring the aliens, I saw that someone of the characters is walking down the corridor, and I'm like, that's kind of their butt shot. I'm like, they look pretty good. I think it was our lead character, our number one. And there was something else. I remember while I was watching it, I commented on it. What was it? Just briefly glimpsed. Did you see somebody like putting on their uniform or something?
Someone was nude being loaded into like a medical scanner,
right?
Or I don't know, stasis pod.
There's nothing sexier than checking for polyps on the Enterprise. No, they do. We know that they have a rating that is going to allow them to, should they want, push things a little bit. I did get the impression from this that they probably aren't particularly going to be pushing it. Like, nobody dropped the F-bomb on it.
And I can't remember if it was Les Moonves, the CBS CEO, or if it was some other CBS executive. But they said that, we do have some leeway with the ratings. Right. But, we're not really going to push that now. We're not going to have naked Klingons or anything like that.
It did panic people. I think some people, into worrying that they were... going to turn it into, I don't know, Game of Thrones or something like that. Yeah. Something that was not family appropriate. And it doesn't look like they're going to do that. I do think a little sex appeal in Star Trek is a good thing. They've always had some measure of it.
For sure.
And I think they probably will on this one, too. I kind of hope they pay some attention to it, honestly. Star Trek can be a little chaste sometimes. At the same time, they probably shouldn't go quite the direction of the Kelvinverse and have women randomly in their bra and panties for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, that didn't work. But that's the type of filmmaking that gets you a gig doing Star Wars for Disney, apparently.
Star Wars taking shots at Star Wars.
No, Star Wars gets the people who make the shittier Star Trek. They can't hack it and they go off and do Star Wars.
Don't turn this into a war, man. They can be our allies.
Yeah, I guess
you're a Star Wars fan.
And just to wrap things up, I'm pretty excited. I think my one complaint might be everything looks a little sterile. The designs, the uniforms. So I kind of wish they would have gone a little different direction. But like I said,
it was one of the things I liked about Enterprise early on was that like when the Trip and the captain would be talking, there was a little bit of sense of a couple of kind of slightly regular guys hanging out. It had not quite gotten to the Shakespearean Picard era yet. And I kind of agree with you on that. I think if I had a complaint, it would be less any specific thing like technical or continuity thing like the look of the Klingons, and more that I kind of wish it felt like there was a clear sort of plot or distinct intent of the show to sort of very much set it apart from the rest. I think what they often do in a teaser like this is something of a greatest hits thing. Let's remind people of what they like. Mm-hmm. They like the Klingons being scary. They like sense of hope from Star Trek. They like sort of dangers of space going on. They like cool aliens. So I think this is kind of its light teaser, lightly thematic greatest hits run, and that's fine. I sort of would have liked to have gotten some sense of like, oh wow, they're going to be exploring such and such sector, this dangerous no man's land filled with alien artifacts. I kind of would have liked some kind of very specific hook like that, just to set it apart.
Yeah, we don't know what the overall story is going to be, but we to end on an optimistic note, though, we did hear a CBS executive recently say that the show was going to be a little grittier than most Star Trek. Mm. But it would also be intelligent,
right?
And well made. Everything will have high production value, and that is what I say. I think this show might have like a little bit. When I hear something's gritty, a lot of times that kind of worries me,
right?
But if it has like a little bit more like that Deep Space Nine type of edginess to it, I can
where
really
like actions have a little bit more consequences. Yeah. That if somebody dies, it's not going to just be like they destroyed the ship and it's all off screen. It might be we see in the medical bay the dead bodies.
Yeah, and I think that is the type of approach they're taking, doing something they've said will be a very serialized show. Mm. We'll have a 13 chapters and 1 season long arc. So I think that's what we're getting into, and I like that approach. And this seems to indicate that that's what they're going to deliver. So we'll check it out this fall. And
yeah, I'm reasonably optimistic from that. That looked Trek enough to get me on board.
Yeah. So we're both on board, and we'll be covering any additional developments between now and the actual premiere date. So we're going to go ahead and sign off. But we will be back to talk about the Star Trek Voyager premiere episode, Caretaker. We're going to be talking about some Star Trek comics soon. I might share some of my trip to Kirk's birthplace in Riverside, Iowa. Mm-hmm. So keep an eye on Tex-Trek. We got a lot of content coming in the near future. Thank all of you so much for checking out this installment of Tex-Trek. I hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to like our YouTube videos and subscribe to our channel. Audio-only version of episodes are available at our website, www.tex-trek.com. Please check out our site, especially if you just want an audio-only podcast. We have that available for you. Y'all can also keep up with us online. You can follow us on Twitter at Tex-Trek, or you can check us out on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Tex-Trek. Please, by all means, let us know what you think by dropping a comment anywhere you see fit. We definitely want to hear your feedback. Let us know what you liked and what you would like to see more of, what you would like to see differently going forward. If you want to email me directly, go ahead. I can be reached at fathereeactual@tex-trek.com. Thank all y'all again. Take care.